Hello everyone, my name is George and today we are going to see how to preview, validate and upload multiple files to the server. To do this, we are going to use PHP and JavaScript. Now let's choose some image files and see how this works. If I choose image files that fails the validation, alongside the instant preview we see the error messages and the upload button is hidden. But if I choose the right image files, the upload button is visible again and I can send the images to the server on the left. Nice, this was a quick introduction on what we are going to build. Now let's code this. Let's see what files we need. I have an index.html file with a basic HTML structure. I have a link to the CSS file and a script tag pointing to my JavaScript file, which is empty. I also have an empty PHP file and a not so empty CSS file. All the CSS to style the HTML in the index file is already typed. I'm not going to deal with CSS. It is not important in this tutorial. Now, let's go back to the index file and start coding. I will start with an h2 tag to display the number of the selected images. The span element will act as a placeholder, which will be populated with the number of the chosen images. Next, I will create the preview container in which we are going to display the selected images. Next, I will have the progress bar. Next, I will have a placeholder for the percentage number and a placeholder for the success message. And after the success message, I'm going to write the upload form. We give the form a name so I can target it from the JavaScript file. I leave the action attribute empty, but it doesn't really matter because we are going to use Ajax to send the images to the server. The same thing applies to the method and the enctype attribute. We can omit the last three attributes and the form will work just fine. But I leave the code as it is because this is good practice. Inside the form I will have an info title. Next I will have the choose file button. I will set the name to images and I will also include the multiple attribute. This is important so we can choose multiple files. I will assign a non-change event listener to the element which will trigger the preview images function. So every time we selecting files, the preview images function will run. The keyword this will give me access to the input element, which will give me access to the selected images. Next I will have the submit button, to which I have given an upload ID so I can target it from the JavaScript file, and last we display to the user what files will be accepted. And that's all the HTML code we need in the index file. Let's see in the browser what we have so far. I have to reload the page and here we have all the HTML elements that we need. Now let's go to the JavaScript file and start building our application step by step. First of all, I will set some global variables with the elements that I will need access to in the script. I need access to the preview container to display the selected images. I need access to the upload button so I can hide it when there is an error. I need access to the success element to display the success message if the upload process was successful. I need access to the progress bar element to display the upload progress. Next, I need access to the percentage number placeholder. And last, I need access to the placeholder that shows the number of selected images. Now let's write our first function, and that is the preview images function, which is executed every time we selecting files. The input variable is giving us access to the input element. Let's do a console.dir to check it out. I will press F12, that opens the developer tools. Let's select some files. We see in the console the input element and all its properties. I will scroll down and I will search for the files property. And here it is. The files property is a file list that holds the selected files. Here we see the three files that we have selected. So to access those files, we have to target the files property. Now that we know how to get those files, let's store them in a variable. I will create a variable and set its value equal to input.files. This will give me access to the selected files. Let's remove the console.dir function and let's count the selected images and display the number in the span element. I will use the length property to count the selected files that the images array holds. Next, I'm going to use an if statement to check if there are files selected. I will use again the length property, and if the value is greater than 0, I will use a for of function to loop through the selected files and write the code to display them in the screen. Inside the for of loop, I will create for each file a file reader object. With the file reader object, we can read the contents of a file that is selected with an HTML input element. We cannot read files directly from the computer's file system. The file reader object has an onload property which fires when the browser has finished reading the file, and we are going to set it equal to a function. So every time the browser reads a file, a function will run. Now inside the function, I will create an image object for every file that the browser reads. And I will assign to the new created image file's source attribute the file's content. The file reader's result property holds the content of the file that the browser has finished reading. Next, I will create a div element and I will place the image inside. Next, I will place the div container that holds the image inside the preview container. And last, outside the function but still inside the for of loop, we use the read as data URL property to read the file's data. Let's bring the browser in the screen and test our code. I'm going to select 3 files, and here we have our instant preview. Now let me show you how the HTML code looks like. Here is the preview container, and inside we have the div elements holding the selected images. Nice, but we are not done yet with the preview function. Now we have to validate the image size and the image type. So let's go back inside the onload function and under the append child image line and write an if statement to check the selected image's file size. I am going to check if the file size is greater than 2 megabytes. If so, I will create again a div element and place it in the same container with the image. The new div element will be created under the image. Now, inside the new created div, I will create a paragraph with a class of error in which I will display the error message. And I will hide the upload button. Next, I will check the image's file type. I have created an array of valid image file types. We are going to accept JPEG, GIF, and PNG files. I will write again an if statement, and I will check if the selected image file type is not included in the allowed image types array. If this is true, I will repeat the same action as above. I will create a div element and I will append it to the container under the image, and I will display an error. And also, I will hide the upload button. Let's bring back the browser in the screen and run a test. I will choose a file that is bigger than 2 megabytes. I will choose a text file and 2 more files that meet our validation rules. And it works. In the place of the text file, we have the error that the file type is not accepted, and in the last image we see that the file is bigger than 2 megabytes. And we don't see the upload button. So far so good, but not done yet. What happens if we choose valid images this time? Let's see. We see that the new selected images were added in the previous selected ones and the errors are still there. That is not what we want. So let's fix it. Let's write a function which will clear the preview container from the previous selected images and bring back the upload button. I'm gonna name the function clearPage. I'm going to set the inner HTML property of the preview container to an empty string. This will clear all images inside the container. And I'm going to change the upload button display property to inline block, so it will be visible again. The function will be executed every time the preview images function runs. So let's go and declare the function there. Now let's check if everything works as supposed to so far. Let's reload the page and select again the wrong files. As expected, we see the error messages. And now let's select the right files. And it works. We don't see the previous selected files or errors. And the upload button is back on the page. Nice, we are done with the previous section and with the first part of this tutorial. In the second video, we are going to use Ajax and PHP to upload the files to the server. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you liked the video and see you in the next one.